to Unwoken, telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you motherfuckers who don't want to listen. Today's episode is featuring Mr. Logan Tyler, and we'll be talking about the cannabis market, medical marijuana products, and all the different stereotypes that come along with them. But before we get back to that, here's a word from our number one sponsor, the best, none other than Delta 3 Tactical. On October 17th, we have a huge announcement for y'all. So Delta 3 Tactical has a simple mission. We strive to provide the highest quality parts, rifles, equipment, and offer them at the best possible price. From a gun enthusiast, a competitive 3-gun shooter, or a military or law enforcement professional, our rifles, parts, and equipment will serve you well and won't let you down when it counts. We use the highest quality American-made materials. You will never find inferior imported materials. We just won't allow it. We all love to shoot, just like most of you, and we won't sell anything that we ourselves wouldn't trust our lives on. We have a good time doing what we do, from building to helping answering questions. It is our passion, and we appreciate each and every customer. Please feel free to send us an email if you have any questions regarding AR rifles or products. Thank you for your interest in our company, and hope to hear from you soon. Let's get to the episode. Here today with Mr. Logan Tyler, and as always, Panda, and Carter Semino behind the scenes producing this lovely show. Make sure to follow at Acadiana _ cast on Instagram, at Lord Scotty D on Instagram, and at Panda. How many underscores you got in your name?
3 underscores.
It's _ Panda. No more underscores?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Also on Facebook at Unwoken Podcast. On TikTok at Scott Tay D, SCOTTAYD, and Acadiana Cast at, what is it, Carter? At Acadiana Cast on TikTok?
Yeah, it's Acadiana _ cast, Hannah? Or TikTok? Yes, Acadiana _ casts, plural.
Acadiana _ casts. Okay, there we got it. Logan Tyler, you got anything to plug in, man?
Yeah, check me out on Instagram. I'm Cajun Saucy.
Cajun Saucy?
Yeah, Cajun Saucy.
At Cajun Saucy.
If you're looking for some of our entities, we got the Hash Castle, exclusive seeds, and rate machines. Give us a follow on Instagram and Facebook.
And for more locally sourced content, check out acadianacast.com as well, folks. Getting into it today on something that I don't have much knowledge on. The marijuana industry. Man, that's why we brought you in. So tell us, can you give us a little bit of background to your expertise in this?
Yeah, man. Might I say, what a booming industry. We've seen it creep literally from California and Colorado, and we watch their ways and methods, and it's got all the way down here to the Gulf, and I'm surprised it happened so fast.
So one of the things that he was telling me about is LSU kind of has a monopoly on the weed industry in Louisiana itself. Am I correct in saying that?
We've noticed something odd about the market here, and a little bit about my background. For the past decade and a half, I've been traveling around the U.S. almost as a business carpetbagger, doing startup cannabis businesses, learning the ins and the outs from the back of the house to the front of the house, and just kind of intimately developing and working with the industry. And one thing we've noticed, as soon as we landed back in Louisiana about a year ago for other reasons, is there's no availability to the patients. There's no competition. There's no availability to business owners. We don't have opportunities to either invest in the booming industry to make money with the state or to make money with the cannabis growth that's about to happen. And we've noticed it's all but locked in to just a handful of people. And what it's really doing is it's hampering availability to patients. They're not getting the best medicine because there's no competition. They're being given substandard stuff that, although it passed testing, it's not what they need, it's not what they want, and there's better stuff for them.
Do you think it has something to do to tie into a political kind of scheme to where, because I look at that, I hear that this is a monopoly on a business, and the first thing I think is, who's helping you get funded, and who are you tied into politically here?
Well, in the verbiage of when they passed the law, I feel like they passed it just so they could say they legalized it, and they can get about half dozen people richer, and they didn't care about anyone else besides that handful of people padding their pockets. The patients aren't getting what they need, and they found a way to just say they legalized it while they really just kept it criminal. The medical, it's underdeveloped, and I feel like we've actually spent a vast amount of time and hours trying to contact LSU because the verbiage says that they're supposed to be able to outsource to contractors who can contribute to the medical industry to help advance the medicine for the patients. We have a lot to offer in that. We have probably over 80 years in the cannabis experience just amongst our corporate members at one of our business. And we are reaching out. We've spent many months, well over a year now, trying to reach out to them to offer both free advice and consultation to guide them in the right way. I swear half the people they send us to are made up.
Names on this list.
The people they tell us that, hey, this guy's responsible for the program. We've spent full-time money trying to send people out and find and contact these people, and you can't. It's impossible. Even if you have good intentions and you can help the patients, they don't care. They're unavailable. You can't reach them. They're rich already.
Any other school was to try to do this too. They couldn't. They couldn't do it. Like UL, they couldn't have their own weed farm. Is that correct?
Unless they were to reach out and do it through a subsidiary of LSU or Southern.
So Baton Rouge, you fucked us with the government, the governor's election, what, a few years ago, and now you want to fuck the people with weed.
And I'm not saying the people who own the dispensaries individually are doing anything wrong. Most of them are doing everything right. They just happen to know the right people and be at the right place. But what they're not allowing us to do is the people to get into this and produce the medicine and get involved in the business and pay more taxes. We're probably paying about 1/10 the tax revenue we could be paying if they allowed for near free market competition with semi-regulated licensing.
And if you are a capitalist, a believer in capitalism, this is the kind of market that you could expand in. Because look at Colorado. I look at Colorado and see what their economy is doing. Every single state could be doing what Colorado's doing, yet we don't want to.
They redid all the roads. They built dozens of new schools.
God,
Colorado
come over here.
Ended up with a $500 million overage in taxes that they couldn't justify spending, so they reduced the licensing fee by over 90% just so they could stop having so much overage of finances. And it's ridiculous that Louisiana is willing to turn their back on that just for the sake of a few people wanting to keep their pockets full.
And, you know, I'm a guy who I don't smoke. I drink. But I look from the outside in and say, you can decriminalize this, and automatically it helps with our overpopulation in the prison system. I can understand you wanting to pursue people with criminal charges if you're driving around a truckload, a box full of pounds of marijuana without any kind of license. I could see that. That'd be like bootlegging, taking alcohol across the line.
Tax dollars.
But I don't understand it. I really, for the life of me, and that's a more evolved stance. Obviously, as a conservative, back in the day, we look at weed, it's a gateway to this, and this.
That stigma still exists in the lawmakers' eyes. So majority of the lawmakers that are in place, let's look at their age, the demographic, and their educational exposure. Most of them think and affiliate cannabis use consumption with addicts or minorities they don't like. So it's both a racial thing, it's an exposure thing, and it's a sign of the times that we've got people either in office too long or not in the interest of the people that they were voted to represent.
You know, and overwhelmingly, too, the GOP is taking a stance on legalization in it. That's just the decriminalization. That's how the GOP's evolved. But those minority communities you talk about are represented by a certain group that have already existed for a whole long time. Gerrymandering, redlining, every single one of these districts are represented by the same people who have been in power for a long time. So we can't really come together on a simple, I don't want to call it simple issue, such as marijuana. But if we can't agree to just tax this and let people do as what they want to, let them grow it, it's the same as any crop, correct?
Speaking of, we do need to get together. And I think that it would be great if we found maybe a local lawyer who could reach out to us and wants to help us fight this fight to get some of these laws guided in the interest of the patient, so we can get them to recognize that this shouldn't be more regulated than alcohol and more regulated than the pharmaceutical industry. It should be regulated at that level or lower.
Because let's be honest, alcohol does more damage to you than weed does.
Statistically.
And I drink.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
that
The
just goes to show
hereditary
you.
damage of alcohol compared to any immediate or long-term damage of marijuana is just not incomparable.
Now, one question I will ask you is this. How do they say you have DWI checkpoints? You legalize weed. Driving high has to be some kind of experience or some kind of way in its own that you'd have to.
I'm glad you brought that up. They do have standardized intoxication analysis. Throughout Colorado and California, they've had medical marijuana for well over decades. The law enforcement did have to go through special training, which they were funded graciously for through the tax program. But throughout these extra incentives for them to educate their officers more, they found that cannabis use doesn't directly lead to more accidents. And although it has been statistically proven that it lowers your reaction time, it also encourages individuals to drive so much more cautiously and with less faith in their driving skill that they're not going to put themselves at risk where they need a fast reaction time. So unlike alcohol, it kind of has the other effect where the more you have, the more you trust yourself. It almost causes caution.
Yeah, is that why people are so damn confident in their dance moves? One important thing to bring up, with a medical marijuana license in Louisiana, you cannot own a firearm. All right? Is that everywhere in the country?
Yeah, according to federal law, if you regularly participate in the consumption of a narcotic that is illegal, you are not allowed to own a firearm.
Really?
Yeah. So it's federally illegal as a consumption. That's why they don't call it a prescription. They call it a doctor's recommendation, because prescriptions are federally recognized items, and cannabis is not. So when people say, "Oh, I have a doctor's prescription," they actually just have a local doctor recommendation for it.
And in California, whenever you're walking down Venice Beach or anything like that, you see "Get your medical marijuana card here." That doesn't transfer over to any other state, correct?
Some states do offer a little communication and accessibility. So there are some states that allow red cards from neighboring states. We call them red cards, green cards, canna cards, whatever.
What's the difference between each?
It's all about the same. It's just different states have different slang.
Okay, and how do they measure, say, a DWI with cannabis, driving under the influence, a DUI?
Yeah, I'd love to walk you through the process.
Please do.
I've gotten many of these just because of who I am in the industry, and they'll pull out as soon as we leave a cannabis party where we've got big blow-up tents of 50-foot tall cannabis leaves and spotlights. As soon as we pull out, they pull us over.
I was asking them that the other day whenever y'all got back from where y'all went. I said, they have to have some kind of car just sitting there watching every single vehicle that leaves this distillery.
Too many people playing for them to watch those. But on the big parties, they'll try to catch you for a DUI or something, and they'll more often than not, they'll try to get you to stare into their headlights, the sun, something bright and very uncomfortable. So if I were you, I'd start this interview with anyone who's checking your intoxication to ask them not to make you stare into any dangerous lights for health reasons. But they'll often get you to stare into the sun and then follow their finger without your eye twitching. They'll do the stare at me and the pin test. Mm-hmm. They'll ask you to close your eyes and open them in 30, 60, or 90 seconds, depending on how much they're messing with you. And they'll see if you have an understanding of time. They'll make you do the walk. But it's pretty much, I've never known anyone who's smoked so much cannabis they can't do these things. Mm-hmm. But I've also haven't met anyone who has smoked so much that they couldn't drive. Because usually at that point they go to bed.
Yeah. So there's a difference between, I've heard stories about edibles though. How edibles cause you to have a different reaction than actual marijuana does. Well, it's the same thing, but how is smoking and consuming something edible different? What's the different kind of high there? Why is there a different quote-unquote high?
It's how it's metabolized. It gets a little chemical, and without shooting straight chemistry out here, it's more efficient. When it gets taken in the body, when you metabolize it through your body's digestive system, it's already pre-decarboxylated, which means the carbon dioxide's been removed. It's like as if when you're smoking out of a pipe, you were the pipe. You're absorbing every bit of it. You're taking up every essential that comes off of it, and your body is the sponge.
Hot damn. All right, can you break down some more science for us? Because I want to hear this.
Yeah.
So tell us, how does the process go when it comes down to the plant itself to get it to the product?
Yeah,
Scotty is a man of science, so he really wants you to lay it out for him.
All right, it's a bit of a journey.
I do like science.
It usually starts off as a seed or a clone. And this is a long journey. It could take anywhere between 3 months and 3 years for this to finish. Some people grow bonsai plants and they're not in a rush to the fruit. And people who are in a commercial environment, they're going to get this done in 90 days. So it starts off, you take a cutting off of a known plant, something great, something excellent. You probably paid a lot for in the commercial environment. These genetics can go up for $10,000 a plant.
The strands?
Yeah, just to get access to the strain.
So the strands of weed that you combine into the plants are kind of like a breed of dog almost in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And they actually show more variations than mammals. So the cannabis plant's great for understanding genetic research because it has so many variations, but more on that later. The plant you chose, and usually is a purebred, think of it like a racehorse, and you want to make copies of it. So you take a cutting off of it, you give it a few hormones if your state allows it. If not, you give it a few vitamins. You wait for it to form some roots. That takes about 2 weeks. Then you put it in your medium. You grow it up under very highly specialized lights. They cost thousands of dollars. And after about 2 weeks, the plant's going to be a foot or two tall. It's going to be well-rooted, established, and hardened. It's ready to go into the flower. So it either goes into flower in that room where you turn the light cycle to less than 12 hours per day, and it immediately thinks it's fall. The plant begins its reproductive cycle. It grows pistils if it's a female, and hopefully, ultimately, it grows into sinsemilla. After 2 months in that room in special care and fertilizer, your plant's ready to harvest. You take that plant in the darkness, you hang it upside down, and you dry it in a 60-degree room with 60% humidity until everything's perfect. The stems snap, it smells good, then you're ready to trim and cure. A lot of times, you'll trim it by hand or tumble it through a machine and then trim it by hand. Curing usually happens in jars, buckets, any kind of barrels, drums. I've seen 55-gallon fiber drums full of weed where they're curing it, and they'll cure it for 3 to 6 months to where it's at peak flavor. Then they'll sell the flower. In the meantime, the stuff that comes off the plant gets processed and extracted. We get hashes, isolates, lotions, topicals. That's where all that comes from.
So CBD, how are they able to nowadays sell 0.5, was it 0.5 THC in smoke shops?
Yeah.
0.5. How do they get to that number? Why is it 0.5 that they're able to sell?
It actually was a lot lower.
Was it 0.3?
Yeah, it's like 0.03.
Yeah. 0.03.
And then it became 0.3. Then it became 0.5.
How do they get to this number? Who are they getting their
Well, let's start off.
Who are they getting their information
first.
from?
It was a trash number to begin with. They had to throw something out there to get the farm bill to go through. But they threw something out there. And this farm bill, it changed everything. It allowed us to federally deal with byproducts of the hemp plant, which, if you think about it, THC off of a medical plant is identical. THC delta 9, THC acetate, they're all the same if you look at them molecularly. So if you can take a hemp plant and convert its extracts, its isolates, you can make THC from it and it'd be federally legal.
So
under certain principles. But if you were to have based on weight dilution, because if they're factoring in a vaporizer, are you factoring the weight of the cartridge?
All right.
So they use these loopholes, these laws. These hemp companies are just skirting around the farm bill. But they had to raise the percentage because farmers were testing hot for THC before it was processed.
And I'm throwing a lot of questions at you that I'm just thinking up off the top of the head because there are so many questions in terms of why marijuana isn't legal. And I come back to the same conclusion. It's politics. That's my same conclusion every time that I come back to. But I want to spend time talking about some of the benefits it can have for people because, as we were just talking about, we talked on the show about concussions and football players and how weed in the NFL is frowned upon, really. And there's a lot of ways that these players get, like Ricky Williams is a prime example. You remember Ricky Williams?
That's a shame, too.
You remember Ricky Williams? I'm sure you. Oh, yeah. Ricky Williams is arguably one of the greatest running backs, greatest talents we've seen in this generation. And his career gets cut short because of marijuana.
Yeah, they robbed him of like 2 of his primetime seasons because he didn't want to stop smoking weed.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you guys ever smoked weed before or anyone who's ever consumed who's listening or watching this, but it doesn't exactly give you gratuitous amounts of strength. It doesn't give you extended stamina on most principles. It doesn't give you that athletic edge, really, that they're accusing consumers of having. And it turns out that it's one of the best neuroprotectants you can take. A high cannabinoid body that is saturating cannabinoids takes less nerve damage on impact, and it heals faster.
So you're saying head injuries?
Yes, nerve damage helps is helped by the presence of a saturated cannabinoid system.
So something like with trimmers like this from head injury, that could help.
Mm-hmm.
And recovery is such like a big part, especially for NFL players, you know, having to have a quick, speedy turnaround week to week and one of those vicious athletic events that we have out there. And you're saying that cannabis is an excellent way to help recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. It would allow a player to remain a player longer instead of ending their career, in 5 to 10 years of aggressive play. They might get an extra year or two of quality of life. It's not going to make them a stronger or a more aggressive player. That's an unfair advantage. It just gives this man one more day to enjoy his career.
That's interesting, man.
I think that's what we all want when we get into a career, is just to do it one more day.
It's interesting because we saw one of the most brutal things we've ever seen this past week in Tua Tagovailoa. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I missed it.
He got concussed. They played a Sunday game. He got concussed. I believe it was at Buffalo. And then they said,
And it was visible too.
Yeah.
Like he was
fell.
shaky. Yeah, he fell.
He fell down. And I'm looking at this, man, from a standpoint where I'm able to openly talk about it now. I went to a neurologist, and he told me it is what it is when it comes down to concussions. I see something like that, and I'm looking at the NFL. I'm saying, you're supposed to be protecting these players right now. We have a concussion protocol, correct? What's more visible than a man who can't walk on his own? Okay. And you have 2 independent doctors that said this man's active. He's able to go back into the game the next week, and they play on a short week on a Thursday night. So you take a week off. You're supposed to take a week off. You go back and play 3 to 4 games later, 3 to 4 days later. The man gets hit. His hands freaking curled up like something that was taking over his body, like a paranormal entity. And you want people to trust in the NFL and in football now. If I'm a parent, knock on wood, not anytime soon. If I'm a parent and I'm seeing this, why the fuck would I let my children or anybody I know want to play football?
If at the highest of levels there's that lack of accountability and care for your players,
It pisses me off.
Tua
dude.
comes out, he gets ragdolled. Not only was he all locked up like that, but they had to
Kick him off on the stretcher.
on a stretcher. And he still was out of it.
I mean, I can't sit there and fathom that. And it pisses me off more nowadays because I know of the long-term effects of this shit. I know what happens. Like, if I had children, I wouldn't let them play till the age of 13.
Why aren't we looking out for the interests of the players?
Because you're just an asset. That's all you are. You're bringing money to the shield.
Yeah, but there's an old saying, and it's a loose translation here, but the horse is only as good as how well you take care of them. Even if you look at them like they're expendable, you take care of everything. Whether it's you're betting on the racehorse or not, you take the best care of it at all times. And if that's your star player, you take care of your steed. And that also means allowing them across the field them to live a quality of life while people are sitting there racking in. The corporate guys, the big fat guys, the big wigs, they're sitting there making billions. They don't care if these guys die. And that's the proof of the politics, like you said. They're not looking out for the interests of the players. They'd rather have good TV. They'd rather have more views than they would care to see these players live a healthier life after their career. Because what happens after these careers are over? These guys are left brain dead. Usually, their IQ drops in half from the time they graduate college to the time that they're done with their career.
And Rob Ninkovich said it best. He said, I was in the locker next to Junior Seau. He said, I do not ever I can't imagine seeing somebody else go through that again. And I speak on it more from a level of, you see NFL players, it happened to them, but a lot of times high school and college athletes, they're not measuring this anymore. Well, they did a study. You can check this out. By the way, I know y'all are interested in where I get my information from. Go look on abcnews.com or go listen to the soundbite that they have on YouTube regarding CTE in amateur athletes. They measured something around 113 brains. 90 out of 113 had early stages of CTE if you played football from the age of 6 until your senior year of high school. That's a high number of people in today's society. So something has to be done, but until that, you can at least let players medicate in a way that helps benefit them. And like I said, man, this isn't my level of expertise, which is why we have Mr. Logan here. But what are some other ways that it can help in terms of your mindset? Like if you have mental problems, what are some other ways that marijuana can benefit?
Yeah, I've noticed there's a lot of psychological research. The plant itself is full of over 1,500 active compounds that we're aware of. We've only begun research on THC recently, and that's the most prominent one that probably affects us the least out of the slew. As far as how much you need of THC, you need a large quantity for it to affect your behavior, which it can offer very positive behavioral changes. But it's full of these compounds known as mono and sesquiterpenes, and these are volatile organic compounds produced by the plant during its natural life cycle that affect your physiology. That's like smelling a flower or aromatherapy, and it's been proven that aromatherapies and certain exposures to certain smells will change your mindset. it is exaggerated in the cannabis plant. Once you consume it with THC, CBD, and other cannabinoids, it gets multiplied. Those small effects of smelling a flower become exaggerated. The only thing different between an indica and a sativa are the terpenoids.
The one that makes you go to sleep, the one that keeps you up?
The one that, in the couch or wake you up.
All
and
right.
one's equivocal to caffeine and one's equivocal to a sedative.
So what do you say to the people that tell these stories of having hallucinations on consumption of marijuana? Do you think
That
it's
is
bad strand?
That is what you consider an overdose or a misphysiological mixture.
You can overdose on weed, though.
That is what it would be at.
Really?
That is the extent of it. We're not talking a deadly overdose. Cannabis, I don't think, is capable of that. What it is capable of doing is disorientation or lack of pleasure, lack of enjoyment of your situation. Because if it's used properly in almost any situation, there's a right strain for the right situation to make it better. But sobriety and in its elements, they have their acknowledgments too, where if someone's getting blitzed out of their mind and trying to get trashed and like, oh, let's get wasted today, they're not going to get a full spectrum of life because they're sitting there just focusing on escapism. And that's not cannabis being the problem. And I've noticed more often than not in those situations, it's individuals who never address their issues and they're just using that as a crutch.
I'd agree with that. Because a lot of people, the only time you see people going into these rehab facilities, it's not for marijuana, ever. It's because you partake in marijuana, but you're doing something heavy on top of it. Yeah, I can agree to that. So you're along that stance where weed cannot cause you to get hooked on it.
Yeah, it can't kill you, can't get you get physically hooked, but it can get into these habits where
You can require dependency. You can
Right.
gain a dependency from it.
no different than people going to the store every morning and buying their favorite gum and chewing it all day. They
Yeah.
just like their favorite gum.
Yeah.
If you go to the store after work and you pick up your favorite root beer, your vanilla soda, whatever it is, it's no different than a choice. You're not physically addicted to the soda any more than it is a choice.
Are you a vanilla soda kind of guy?
Apparently I am.
Well, speaking of flavors and whatnot, what is the component inside of cannabis that makes food just taste so damn delicious?
That
The munchies and all that, right?
That would be a great research topic. Now, right now, we've just barely began to research THC in cannabis. The issue is we can't federally research it, and we can't really easily federally research the terpenoids. But I've noticed there's a certain terpene, such as myrcene, linalool, D-limonene, alpha-pinene. These are chemicals of the terpenoid realm, those VOCs, that do inhibit hunger, and sometimes insatiably. There's some strains I stay away from because I'll go broke eating all the food in my house. So I just stay away from the cataract. That's what I know.
The cataract?
Cataract, yeah. That one I'll eat the whole house out of food. I'll order Uber Eats while I'm doing it. You hear the microwave going off on the order line, and he knows what time it is.
That's awesome. I still think the best movie ever made in regards to that is Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke.
Oh, that's a classic.
And I will put up the video underneath here of me and my buddy doing that for Halloween. Dude, I had long hair down to right here. Freaking, my buddy had a little Mexican mustache that he has because he's like, so mean.
Now, did you naturally grow out long hair?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you weren't this always crisp cut individual.
Oh, no.
Were they dreaded out, or did you lion's
It was
mane it?
luscious, man.
You hear that? You hear that, ladies? You had a lion's
Luscious.
mane. Picture that.
I'm pretty sure he had birds living in there at one point.
Oh, no. That hair,
He's a man of nature.
Dude, that hair was so luscious. My hair was really thick. It looked like a lion's mane. Oh, yeah. And it had a nice bun. They hated it.
Yeah, they're just jealous.
Yeah, just jealous over here. I got another question for you. So you hear people talk about, I guess, older generations, maybe like Gen X or boomers, talking about, trying weed back in the day, and then they try it again here in 2022, and it's significantly stronger. Why is that necessarily true? And if so, what is the cause of that now stronger, more potent marijuana in today's age than in years past?
I think I could answer based on what you told me. Hold on, let me try.
Let's give it a shot.
It's because the hybrid strands that they're able to mix in together now.
We are hybridizing. We are kind of doing some selective breeding. A lot of the strains we're working with today are the same stuff that's working around in the 70s. We just mixed 2 or 3 of them together. It's not going to get worlds better. That's like taking
Chalk one up for Scott.
Someone from Africa, someone from Russia, mix them together and think you're going to get something 4 times stronger. No,
Russia.
You're just going to have a mixture of both.
Russia.
Just
I was about to say, man, somebody just got arrested in the U.S. In Russia from the U.S. that still ain't out of prison.
Yeah, they're against that. And I think it's also a political presence. They said, hey, if you make a stink about this in the media, we're not going to go easy on you. And what the media do 4 hours later, put Russia on blast. Like, all right, well, now we can't go easy on you. We told you we were going to let this slide. And they were just waiting for a reason to screw us.
They're going after the machine.
Yeah, you give them a thread, they're going to pull. Let's look back. Our parents and grandparents were talking about smoking weed by the lid. They're like, we would smoke a whole bag. So I don't think they cared if it was stronger. They were going to smoke and smoke and smoke until they were downright retarded.
Really?
The same stoners that said the weed is much stronger today, same individuals or smokers or consumers of cannabis, we'll call them, because I want to avoid the stereotype actually of stoner. But consumers, if they're saying it's stronger today, that's good. You don't have to smoke as much. You're able to get back to your day. You don't have as much trash going in your lungs. It's actually purer. So yeah, we're making it cleaner, that's for sure. There's a lot less garbage in it. You don't have to worry about them spraying paraquat and pesticides on it these days because most things are screen tested. They do a full gas spectrum analysis.
So it's cleaner in terms of no pesticides on any of these products?
Majority of markets today, even if you look at Oklahoma's market, they require a full panel testing of gas spectrum analysis of all heavy metals, pesticides, even things such as dust. If there's too much dust in there, we're sorry, it's not pure, it's not clean, it can't go. And these are mom and pa's. They got maybe 10,000 cannabis businesses in Oklahoma ran by mom and pa's producing clean medicine, and the state's making so much money off of it because they get a percentage of the sale and all the tests. All that gives them a little piece of the pie. So the more that they clean it and the more that they ask that the cannabis be clean, the more money the state makes and the more money that exchanges hands, it's win-win.
So your company that you do, it rolls joints, correct?
Yes, one of our businesses focused on selling shovels in the industry.
Well, you know what? Maybe we'll be able to plug in some kind of promo code to help you grow a little bit.
Yeah. See if we can come up with something for that.
Yeah, we'll be in touch with that because, hell, what does it do exactly? I saw a video. It rolled, 1,400 joints in 5 minutes?
Yeah, 1,400 cones in 5 minutes.
It'll roll up about 4 pounds of cannabis or hemp or whatever material you got in about 5 minutes.
Holy shit.
Right in a joint's ready to smoke.
Good God almighty.
Yeah, we focused on harvest equipment because we realized that this industry is going to keep expanding. And we wanted something that would translate as an entity from state to state to state. And we found that we had serendipitously invented a bunch of things in the industry to make our businesses run better. And we walked around on all the custom things we'd engineered in our farms and our facilities. And we had enough that we're like, we can run a whole business on the tools we've created to help us harvest and sell them to other farmers, processors, technicians who need these exact items for the same reason we did while they're in the cannabis industry.
Well, hot damn.
What kind of innovation has come from the cannabis industry? I know there's a guy here, when I was on the news, I interviewed him, and he has this hydroponic portable grow center that he does natural like vegetables and other different types of crops and whatnot. But he was talking about how, he took the technology that was used for years to grow weed and is now able to make these little portable places where hypothetically they can just go places in like Africa or like really poor countries and be able to sustain growth, and by using weed growing technology.
Yeah, let's be honest. There's not a huge line at the university for the biology and the plant biology program until you bring in cannabis. And then all of a sudden, everyone wants to understand the science. And so the cannabis industry has both accelerated the hydroponic industry, because I think back when in the 70s, when we started pushing cannabis hydroponic nutrients through General Hydroponics, they had a basic program. It was 3 bottles NPK. And they actually filed certain laws, plant labeling fertilizer acts, to where if you ever made a plant fertilizer that had anything other than what they had in theirs, you couldn't put it on the label as plant food. Well, a few years down the road, we realized that if you put in extra technology, passion, innovation into just the fertilizer, you can make a better product, cleaner product, something that has more bag appeal, more color, flavor. We call those terpenes. So what I've noticed is we had billions of dollars dumped into free botanical research, pretty much crowd research. And at first, we couldn't share our research until it kind of started medically legalizing. But over the past 20 years, as a country and as a planet, we're all sharing our research notes. And through all these billions of dollars being spent, the horticultural industry has getting leagues better lighting. Let's look at lighting that was 50 years ago. We ran HID, high pressure sodiums. The LED industry, these LEDs we're using right now are likely side offset productions from the horticultural industry. And these lights were developed for a certain spectrum of lights to stimulate certain phases of growth.
Acadian and Cass, brought to you by weed.
Hey, we're advocates. Let the people do what the people want to do. And then insert war by low rider by war. I was asking you if that's CBD in there.
No, there's not CBD in there.
Do y'all have CBD products?
No, but there's about 1 million pop-ups full of CBD in Lafayette.
Okay. I was just wondering.
I'm always apprehensive of those because they don't come with local stamped test results. And
That'd be like legal weed almost.
yeah, CBD could be coming from China full of heavy metals, full of adulterants. I don't trust CBD products from just anybody.
What about like people who are using like hemp-derived products?
I would trust a local farm who's cultivating it and processing it themselves before I would trust anything at these gas stations. If they don't grow it themselves or can show you where it comes from, you probably don't want it. It comes from Alibaba.com or some Wish.com, and they just bought the cheapest CBD kilo they could find.
So how are people how are they able to order products from Cali to get here through mail? Is there something that they don't check at the mail? Or is it the black market that we ain't got to get into?
Those guys have billions of dollars. The black market is worth just as much as the white market currently, and they have billions of dollars that they use to circumvent the rules.
That's what crypto is used for,
Yeah.
basically.
Every time we come up with a new rule that has to be followed in the industry, the black market reacts with a new way around it. It's just
See, I almost invested into a THC company, but they make it so hard to do on, say, TD Ameritrade or any of these companies
you
here.
can't publicly trade stocks on it too easily. My best bet, if you want to invest in the cannabis industry, is to invest in a local coalition to legalize competitive cannabis in Louisiana so we can grow healthy cannabis that the patients need. The diversity of products. If we're allowed to grow more products, patients consume 150 different types of products in a dispensary, and Louisiana's probably got like 7 or 8.
So what are the negative stigmas that can be debunked about marijuana? As somebody who is in the industry itself, you have people who get tested regularly, which I understand why. You want somebody to be, like in my job, I can't have any kind of influence in terms of doing my job because any kind of thing can throw you off. What are some of the negative stigmas about marijuana itself that can be debunked? Besides the DWI thing we just talked about?
Yeah. A lot of the times there's this lazy stigma.
Lazy? Is that where the stoner term comes
Yeah,
in?
just like almost a do-nothing. A lot of people, while they're going through depression, have self-medicated with cannabis, and it's often seen as, oh, they're going through some stuff or something. But there's actually a functional aspect to it when it's consumed properly, and there's nothing about it that inherently is going to cause you to become a lazy person. It's your decisions.
See, some of the smartest motherfuckers I've ever met are the ones who smoke all the time.
Absolutely. I was going to say that some of the most capable, right-minded, direct individuals, the most successful people I know, they partake. But they're not choosing to consume cannabis over their priorities that got them successful. It's almost the icing on the cake of life. They do everything they have to, and it just embellishes the quality of life that they still built. It's not going to rebuild your life for you. It's not going to fix your relationships, and it's not going to put food in your fridge unless you put it to work.
Why does some of the psychoactive elements of cannabis tend to make people a little more compassionate and understanding?
You know, I'm not too versed in the research on that one, but I have noticed a high degree of empathy in individuals who regularly consume cannabis.
Then I don't want it.
So I got a question for you. Is prices in Louisiana, trying to look for the wordage on this, prices in Louisiana the same as prices around the U.S.?
Actually, I think this goes back to that monopoly thing. Prices in Louisiana are exorbitantly high. Let's look at the Oklahoma and Colorado market. They're right next to us. They're very similar. They regulate it. They count the plants, but they allow people to grow it and all that. The cost of an edible in Colorado right now is about $15 for a high-grade edible. The cost of a high-grade edible in Louisiana is almost $100 out the door. I think I paid about $80.
Shit.
Now, how are they looking after the patients, and how is this a school that's if it's LSU responsible, how is a
Don't
school
get me
charging 4
started.
times more than mom and pa, who has and while we're on this note, y'all need to stop using first pass distillate in your edibles. You need to clean up your distillate game, because someone who does know what clean medicine tastes like, I can tell that you haven't put any care into your distillate and your edibles in the Louisiana medical market. Maybe I can help you with that. Good Day Farms, get with me and I can walk you through your procedures. But yeah.
So explain what a distillate.
So distillate is the type of extract that they use in the edibles, and depending on how clean that extract is going to determine how you feel and what's left in your body after it's metabolized. We have this thing called passes. When you distill something, it's how many times do you run it through. If you just run it once and you put in low-grade materials and properly winterized or prepared beforehand, you end up with some pretty rough distillate that you can taste it once you know it. And as soon as I had the edible that was produced from the local dispensary here for almost $100, I immediately tasted this old low-quality edible reminder that Colorado phased out 10 years ago when we learned about triple pass and more.
So if you run it, the least amount of times you run it, the more of this distillate you're going to have inside of it.
You'll have more distillate if you don't run it as often or as many times, but you're left with more crap in there, more residuals you don't want. It hasn't been cleaned as much.
So that's going to lead to those bad times that we were talking about.
It's not going to be heavy metals. It's not going to be pesticides. It's just garbage. It's crap you don't need in your body. And if we're dealing with terminal patients here, it's your obligation, your fiduciary obligation in that situation to act on their behalf for what is cleanest for them.
So what helps these people who suffer from, let's say, schizophrenia and, let's say, Parkinson's? Well, Parkinson's is more of a body type of thing, a head injury thing, but schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, things of that nature. What is it that cannabis does exactly that is able to help these patients kind of not succumb their diseases, but help them kind of deal with them in a sense, to help them?
Those are really delicate topics right there.
Yeah.
Those right there.
That's what we do here, man.
Especially with cannabis, because this one could start a spark.
That's what we do here. Welcome to Unwoken, brother.
Chronic consumption of cannabis can trigger and expose undiagnosed bipolar or manic behaviors. It can trigger anxiety if you have undiagnosed and unacknowledged conditions, and you go and you overconsume cannabis. It will cause those to present themselves. It won't cause them. It'll just be like, well, I've always had these behaviors, and these behaviors, the precursors. Did you have okay, well, yeah, you've always just gone undiagnosed, and you developed mechanisms to cover that up, and what it did was it peeled the cover off your mechanisms.
Really?
But I've noticed that a lot of people who suffer from like bipolar and stuff, if they sparingly consume cannabis, whenever they feel it coming on, it can kind of prevent that chemical trigger from sending them where they go real deep. But it's kind of a case by case, strain by strain, amount by amount. Everyone's physiologically so different.
And because it's not federally legal, there's so many hurdles people have to jump in order to do proper testing and the research for these things, right?
Yeah, right now it's virtually impossible. We've teamed up, we do research in Oklahoma. We've teamed up with a research doctor, and he's one of our partners at one of our facilities, and all he does is pharmaceutical research. And he's saying it's so impossible. We've got one license in all of Oklahoma that has the ability to properly license, federally research. One. So it's the research we're doing is minimal too at that. We need, for how quickly the industry just grew and how many people are consuming, we need to double on the gas to know what they're consuming, just to do more research. We need to pump some of those taxes into research that they're getting from all the sales, so that way we can stand behind the decision they made to legalize. Because I know that cannabis is a beneficial versus no cannabis. It's just, it would be great to have it all hard facts, all on paper.
Well, speaking of stigmas, I know there's a stigma attached with this next word, activism, at least for Scotty. But there's definitely some cannabis activism that could be properly done here in Louisiana. No surprise that the good old boys in Baton Rouge are making this thing a pain in the ass to get research and get through and get legalized and whatnot. But what are some of the steps that just your ordinary person living in Acadiana or Louisiana can do to maybe push that ball over the ledge?
what we would really need to do, and I would step up myself for a role in this entity. We need to collate. We need to get together, have just it could be a monthly, bi-monthly, yearly meeting where we just discuss the interests of this, come together. We could do a fundraiser to no interest, but lobby for the legalization and access of innovative, healthy, and affordable cannabis. We could contact our local state representatives and let them know about our grievances. We can contact the individuals at LSU and let them know about our issues. But
I got plenty of issues with LSU.
it's damn near impossible to get in touch with them. We've spent, got guys out there full time, spent 3 weeks trying to get in touch with people. Nobody.
You can't reason with LSU people, can you? I told y'all.
What you got out
I
for?
told y'all.
Get it, put it out on the table. What you got?
Oh, they already heard it. You don't need to hear me talk about it again.
You could probably check that out in the video before this.
Many of them before this. They're unreasonable people.
So maybe a Louisiana cannabis podcast, you might say.
Yeah, that would definitely draw some attention, and if we could just slowly go through Acadiana's concerns, because I know that
You want to sponsor a show?
Lafayette itself wants cannabis. If you go around, everyone thinks it's cool, it's hip, they're okay with it. Why don't we have access to it? Why do we have to wait in line and pay prices that I personally don't think the average individual can afford their medicine? And there's no insurance, guys. There's no one who's going to come in and help their copay. They have to pay outright. And this money, it's being hand over foot. Have y'all been in the local dispensary? That line is 15, 25 people long, and it stays there. It stays full.
Why doesn't it move?
They raise that price as high as they want. That line's not going to change other than the people are going to, what are you going to choose? A healthy, happy life, or just be completely, let's say you got pain, Parkinson's, you got, or debilitating diseases, end of life, terminal diseases. Like, say you can't afford your last 4 months on earth worth of weed because it's so expensive. Wouldn't that be a shame that your quality of life has to suffer just because they're charging 10 times more than it should be?
It's like the prescription drug it's pretty much what people have to deal with on a daily
Our
basis.
generation's tired of that crap. Our
I'd
generation's
say
aware
so.
that the rest of the world doesn't do that shit.
I'd say so. I mean, especially after the pharmacist came out, too. That was a big freaking jumper right there.
I drive down to Mexico. They got these trucks. You go on one side for your prescription. You go on the other side for your medicine.
I guess my problem with
And it's the same
this whole
exact
thing
box
is-
medicine. The same distributor it's the same package.
I think my whole problem with this is, and why my view has evolved as a right-wing conservative, why I advocate more for the cannabis industry is I see big pharmaceutical companies able to give people drugs that get them specifically hooked for a marginalized profit, and it has a negative effect on the people's lives and the people around them, their lives. Why are we not allowing something that could benefit somebody, help their quality of life, as you say? Why are we taking that away from them instead of, while feeding them all this toxic shit?
I like that you brought up the indirect effects of those prescriptions. I like to bring up the indirect effects of people consuming cannabis. Have you ever seen a mom stressed out, losing her shit, carrying 3 kids, go take a joint of her vape? She takes a deep breath. She grabs her kids back up. She tells them she loves them and she's sorry she lost her shit. Now tell me that isn't one of the most miraculous things, because if she would have gone and taken a shot of whiskey, she would have came back twice as angry at him. It's one of the few saviors.
I don't want to downplay whiskey now.
Right.
Yeah, but what about Xanax or Zoloft?
Xanax, yeah, that's what.
If
That's
she
what
took
I'm talking about,
Xanax
yeah.
right after, she probably wouldn't have even remembered.
No.
She would have gone through the same cycle the next day, and her kids would have been victim to the pharmaceutical prescription that she was taking. But had she just consumed a little bit of cannabis, taken a deep breath, done some introspective reflection, and readdressed the issue like most cannabis consumers do, she would have came back a better mother. And if you were able to get a viewer to attest to this, I'm sure every mother who consumes here will say that cannabis makes them a better mother. I've seen it. I've heard it. I can attest to it. It's just, can you prevent the exposure to your children? Do you know how to consume responsibly? Don't be smoking in front of your kid. But that's obvious stuff. Any responsible adult would be aware of, anyone who cares for their children. So no different than drinking. You don't give your kids a beer. You don't give your kids a joint.
I heard they rubbed alcohol on my gums whenever I was a little baby. My mom almost kicked somebody's ass.
That's your excuse?
No, I don't have excuses, brother. I'm up front. I like my whiskey.
What's in the cup?
Water.
Oh, something for a little Wayne response.
So are either of you insinuating that there might be some pharmaceutical companies in the back pocket of Louisiana politicians.
Absolutely, 100%.
It was proven that in the state of Colorado, narcotics prescriptions went down as soon as medical cannabis was legalized. Both sales in Xanax, barbiturates, anything, the opiates, all those sales went down drastically as soon as cannabis legalized. They definitely have a lot to lose if Louisiana has more cannabis products available. That's for sure.
I mean, look at around our area alone. What's the number one thing that people go to rehab for around Lafayette? Roxy's.
Yeah, opiates.
It's affected down South Louisiana more than anybody can fathom. The pharmacist came out. Yeah, we saw what happened in New Orleans. You all remember how delicate that series was. I mean, I think that opened people up to see that they do not have our best interest in mind whatsoever. We are literally pawns moving on a chessboard.
And the only reason that they even got mindful about the overprescribing and all the opiates and barbiturates getting out is because people started dying and they couldn't keep them as patient customers. Nope. They couldn't make any more money off them, so they had to dial that back.
Why isn't there like multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical companies? Maybe some of them are getting like in line and getting involved with cannabis companies to shoot. I think it would help their bottom line. It seems like something they'd be interested in. Maybe it'd be a full transition into what they're producing, and they can't do some of these shitty opioid drugs that they're getting people hooked on. But you would think it'd be profitable for them.
This industry is just kind of like what happened with GameStop on the Reddit forums, because anybody can grow marijuana. I mean, obviously certain strands are based on climate, I'm assuming, if I'm correct in saying that.
Yeah.
Certain strands are based on type of climate.
Yeah.
So we all know what happened. You had certain people that figured out how hedgehog banks are able to make a lot of money by buying all into one thing and then go ahead and selling it. SEC and the commissions will not ever allow that to happen. You have everyday people who can grow a certain strand of weed down here and won't get taxed on it, and they can make a profit from it.
I think people should be able to grow their own.
So this is just like that scenario. It's all comes down to the same conclusion as before. This is a politicized topic.
Well, let's bring economics in it. Let's look how much you'd be paying every year in taxes going to buy whatever you're buying. Let's charge them that much for their own red card. Let them grow their own. The state makes the same amount of money. They're the fuck out of our business.
They charge 20% on alcohol. What is it? Close to it? Charge the same amount. Charge the same.
Now,
do we have that number? How much they tax alcohol? How much we tax alcohol in Louisiana? Because it has to be a good amount.
So it looks like alcoholic content not over 14% by volume, 20 cents per liter. Alcoholic content over 14%, but less than 24% by volume is 35 cents per liter.
Per beer. So that's about 10-15% solid on most beers, and if it's cheap beer, it's a little more percentage.
Yeah. I mean, dude, look, like I said, this is a topic that I don't think should be as complicated as it is. I really don't believe that.
We're making it complicated.
We make it complicated because of behind the door deals.
Yeah, but just like you said, Scotty, with the banks and whatnot, and with the GameStop stuff, and there is a concerted effort. It seems like across the board from people who are in power to make individuals as least autonomous as possible, and that goes into not allowing people to grow their own plants, handle their money the way they want to, and it's a power control thing.
And they wonder why people form all these conspiracy theories.
Well,
I'm no conspiracy theorist at all whatsoever.
They look at the commodities, they tax and they control them.
But that's no conspiracy theory.
Some conspiracy theories are real. I mean, that's the term conspiracy theorist has a negative connotation. Really, is a rather recent thing in Western culture.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of them do hold water. A lot of them do hold a solid, logical foundation. But this is one of those things that should not even be in that same category, if you ask me. And you're talking to a guy right here who does not partake in it.
There's no research that suggests cannabis should be a Schedule 1. There's no research that suggests.
A Schedule 1 drug. But one thing I have noticed, now we'll give credit for, in Lafayette, is that, and around the country actually, a lot of people, cops especially, are now looking at this and saying, he had this much, or somebody had this much on him, and we're criminalizing that. They're starting to even question why.
Well, they were being hated on. I'm going to put it out there. There's this whole cops versus no cops. We hate the cops. We love the cops. They're just like us, man. They got different set of codes and values, but they're just people going to work, and they're realizing that they were taking people from their homes for no reason. They were preventing people from going to work. And I think it took a little while for the word to get around that it had gotten out of hand. And they're getting firsthand accounts from their cousin, their brother, their dad, their sister. Someone's telling them about the way that the police are behaving is taking a non-risk off the streets and creating problems where there wasn't any problems to begin with.
I won't say any of the names here, but I am close with a lot of people who have a lot of jurisdiction. And the overwhelming majority of police officers that you talk to will sit here and say they would rather go and worry about a domestic violence case and about taking crystal meth, which is that, and what is it? Fentanyl right now. I want to be somebody to say this message that I got the other day. If you see a $100 or $20 bill or any dollar bill next to your vehicle at a gas pump or anywhere, it's just randomly there, do not pick it up. They do not pick that up. They are now lacing that with fentanyl, and if fentanyl touches your skin, that's knocking you out. That is a very scary situation. That's the number one source of deaths in the U.S. right now, drug related. It's fentanyl. That's scary.
Which is a big concern of mine when it comes to street
that
drugs
is
and
scary.
black market drugs.
So how do we use marijuana? How do we make sure if somebody was to buy marijuana legally here, how are they able to make sure that where they're buying it from does not have any kind of fentanyl source?
Honestly, the best bet is to buy it through authenticated sources. Louisiana residents only have the local dispensary. Unfortunately, because the dispensaries decided to sell a little bit of weed at a very high price with a high tax, the black market has exploded because now cannabis is a buzzword. Everyone's okay with it. They all got red cards. They can't afford the local stuff. They just go to the local dealer, and we can't control that, and that is a small risk. I don't see anyone going and contaminating fentanyl in any black market logical situation because most of those individuals operate on a different element than those. The fentanyl drug's usually powdered, and it's hard to get away with putting powder in a non-powdered drug. But it takes so little of fentanyl that you have that potential, whether it is a potential. So
pin drop.
I would say that if they lowered the struggle it took to get into the cannabis market, and they opened up more availability, and they lowered the price of cannabis here, and they made it more available to people who needed it, they could trust their source because it goes through the State Department. It gets tested. Right now, I've tried the local product. It is not the best. It is far from the best. It is definitely the most expensive, and it's priced like it's exotic. And what it is it's work grade commercial stuff produced in a low-grade greenhouse where they don't care about vapor pressure deficit, and it comes out stale. They don't cure it right, and it's just we're not getting anything good in the dispensary. It's too expensive. People are going to keep buying black market until they allow competition. They need to allow us to grow better medicine or people to grow for themselves. They don't have to buy it. They watched it come out of dirt, and there's nothing wrong with being a farmer.
That's right. Well, Logan, one more time, plug in your social media handles for the people.
All right, I'm Cajun Saucy on Instagram, and look us up on the Hash Castle, Exclusive Seeds, and Rate Machines.
Panda, it's ___ Panda. Well, folks, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more notifications. Make sure to check out acadianacast.com for more locally sourced content. Make sure to follow Unwoken Podcast on Facebook at Lord Scotty D, LORDSCOTTAAYD on Instagram. Make sure to check out Carter's podcast, The Art of Business. That's on right. Acadianacast.
Check it out.
We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcast, as well as Buzzsprout.com. So make sure to check that out, download it, ring the bell on YouTube, subscribe, folks. Please, we appreciate it. We appreciate Mr. Logan Tyler for being here today. Hannah's back there behind. If we don't have a camera on Hannah.
No.
She's real cool. She had an awesome bio for me today. It said I'm a Christian father.
Scotty, 3 kids?
3 kids.
Scotty, I want to make one quick announcement.
Oh, about the raffle.
Yeah, we got a raffle coming out.
You guys want to hear this?
The raffle.
Halfway through the month, so probably around the 16th, 17th of October, we'll be posting raffle buy-ins for the AR that we're giving away.
The AR, the custom.
Give us some details on this AR.
This custom, one-of-a-kind, unwoken, encrypted, laser encrypted, unwoken AR-15.
Yep, 16-inch barrel, rifle, comes with a free wall mount to mount on your wall, printed by Rate Machines.
Black.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Can't
All
wait to post it. Me and Sky will be doing a live stream build event.
Oh, that's going to be exciting.
Oh,
We want you to come watch.
We'll even shoot it for you. Can we shoot it?
We got to test it one good time.
We do have to test it. We will test it then. That's what I like to hear. Well, as always, folks, this is the new outro, too. Bringing you the truth. Nothing but the truth and the whole truth. So help you, any of you motherfuckers who don't want to hear it. This is Unwoking. Take care.
This podcast is powered by Acadiana Cast Network. Go to acadianacast.com for more South Louisiana sourced content.